What began as a routine 5-minute round of questioning quickly turned into one of the most confrontational moments of the Kristi Noem hearing, as Congressman Ramirez methodically boxed the secretary into a constitutional corner and then laid out a sweeping indictment of her record.
Gentlelady's time has expired. I now recognize Ms. Ramirez for 5 minutes of questioning.
Thank you, Chairman. Secretary, it's good to see you. I'm going to go straight to the questions because I have a lot of them. Let me start just following up with Congressman Goldman about judiciary. Do you agree that the judiciary is a co-equal branch of government and it is your obligation as a member of the executive branch to honor decisions made by the highest court of the land? Yes or no, Secretary?
We are abiding by all federal judges' orders, absolutely.
So yes, it's a co-equal branch of government. Okay, well, let me ask you a follow-up question to that. Do you agree that Congress is a co-equal branch of government and it is your obligation as a member of the executive branch to honor legislation and appropriations duly authorized by Congress? Yes or no?
Yes, that's why I'm thrilled to work.
Well, let me ask you the follow-up question here because I have a lot of them. Do you agree that Article 1 of the Constitution gives Congress the power of the purse? Yes or no?
Yes, that is a duty.
Do you
of
believe
Congress
that,
to
let
be
me
able
ask
to
you another
appropriate
follow-up,
funds.
it's just yes or no. Do you believe you have the power to disregard congressional appropriations and unilaterally repurpose funds that have been duly appropriated by Congress? Yes or no?
Ma'am, we are not doing that.
So the
We are
answer to
using
you is
dollars
no.
as to
All
how
right,
they
well,
were
it was a yes or
appropriated.
no,
We're ensuring the
Secretary. Let me
programs have
continue.
integrity.
Interestingly, you said no. But since you've been Secretary, you have repeatedly disregarded the law. You have illegally impounded funds that Congress appropriated and that your branch of government must implement pursuant to the law. Yet you've closed offices established in law, including the Office for Civil Rights and Civil Liberties, the Office of the Immigration Detention Ombudsman, the Office of the Citizenship and Immigration Services, and you've canceled contracts for programs authorized in law, including shelter and service programs and citizenship and integration grants. You've obstructed and roughed up members of this committee as they attempted to conduct congressional oversight, and then you vilified them. But my question is, if they were so bad, why were they allowed to go in after to conduct oversight? Let me just continue. You redirected funds to terrorize our communities. You created taxpayer-funded political propaganda campaigns to terrorize families and children who don't sleep at night because of the terror of those commercials that you are putting out there. You hold sick, disrespectful press conferences in my state where, let me be clear, you are not welcome. You corruptly used emergency authority to avoid procurement to make Trump's private prison donors richer by directing $45 billion for them to expand ICE detention centers. You defunded work to address real threats to the homeland, all while you pursued college newspaper editors, labor leaders, and even a Harvard scientist who failed to declare frog embryos at the airport. Clearly, we don't have time for all my questions, so I have 13 pages worth of questions that I will be submitting to the record that I expect you and the administration to answer. But here is my final question to you. When you took your oath, did you swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America? Yes or no?
Yes, I did.
So I find that laughable. You don't behave like someone who takes that oath seriously. And let me tell you why. We don't live in a dictatorship or a monarchy. Trump's will is not the guiding doctrine of this nation, and our country is not a playground for his or your twisted authoritarian fantasies. We are a democracy. We defend the Constitution and we affirm the rule of law. We respect the co-equal branches of government and we uphold our rights, even when we disagree. The foundation of our nation is based on a core set of constitutional rights upon which our prosperity, our pluralism, and our peace depend on it. You, however, have been leading this work for 116 days, and in that time, you have profiled and dehumanized our neighbors. You've betrayed our constitutional commitment to due process. You've deported United States citizens. You've undermined the courts. You've broken the law. You've engaged in corruption, and you've weaponized the immigration system to violate civil rights. As Senator Murphy perfectly stated, your department is out of control, but you're responsible. You have betrayed the sacred fundamentals of your oath. And I believe to my core that you are not fit to hold the office. And I again, to your face, demand your immediate resignation. And I put it and place it on the record for all of us to see. With that, Chairman, I yield back.
Generally yields. Mr. Gabarino is recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Madam Secretary, thank you so much for being here today. I'm the chairman of the Subcommittee on Cybersecurity Infrastructure Protection, so I work with CISA a lot.
From the very first question, Ramirez made his strategy clear. This was not about speeches or sound bites. It was about the fundamentals of American government. He started with the judiciary, asking whether the courts are a co-equal branch of government and whether the executive branch is obligated to follow their rulings. Secretary Noem answered yes. Ramirez then moved to Congress, asking the same question about legislative authority and appropriations. Again, she said yes. That was the setup. Ramirez then zeroed in on Article 1 of the Constitution, the section that gives Congress the power of the purse. Control over federal spending is not a suggestion, it is one of Congress's core powers. When Ramirez asked directly whether Noem believed she could ignore congressional appropriations and repurpose funds on her own, the room tightened. She avoided a direct answer at first, then denied doing so. But Ramirez was ready. He accused the secretary of doing exactly what she claimed she did not believe she could do. According to Ramirez, under Noem's leadership, funds lawfully appropriated by Congress were illegally impounded, offices created by statute were shut down, and programs authorized by law were canceled without congressional approval. These were not abstract complaints. He named specific offices: civil rights and civil liberties, immigration detention oversight, citizenship and immigration services, all established in law and all allegedly dismantled. This is where the exchange shifted from constitutional theory to real-world consequences. Ramirez argued that these actions were not just bureaucratic decisions, but violations that weakened oversight, harmed vulnerable communities, and undermined democratic accountability. He accused the department of obstructing members of Congress during oversight visits, then publicly vilifying those same lawmakers. He raised a pointed question: if those members were acting improperly, why were they later allowed to conduct oversight anyway? The congressman then escalated further, accusing the department of redirecting public funds into what he described as fear-based political messaging, taxpayer-funded campaigns that he said terrorize immigrant families and children. He spoke about press conferences held in his state, saying plainly that the secretary was not welcome, and framed those appearances as political theater rather than public service. Perhaps the most serious allegation came next. Ramirez accused Noem of using emergency authority to bypass procurement rules and funnel tens of billions of dollars into expanding ICE detention facilities, enriching private prison companies with ties to political donors. He argued that these decisions did not make the homeland safer, but instead defunded efforts to address genuine security threats. What viewers should understand is that this was not just a heated exchange, it was a fundamental clash over separation of powers. At its core, the argument was about whether the executive branch can override Congress when it disagrees with how money should be spent. The Constitution says no. Ramirez's case was that regardless of rhetoric, the department's actions say otherwise. This moment matters because it highlights a growing tension in American governance: how much power the executive branch can exercise without congressional consent, and what happens when oversight is treated as an obstacle instead of a safeguard. These hearings are not just political theater. They are one of the few tools Congress has to force accountability in real time. If you want clear, no-nonsense breakdowns of moments like this, where power, law, and real lives intersect, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We bring context, not just clips. As this hearing continues, the questions raised here are unlikely to fade. Whether any consequences follow is another matter, but the record is now clear, and so is the warning. When constitutional lines blur, it is Congress's job to redraw them in public. Subscribe now so you do not miss the next key moment, because these hearings shape policy long after the cameras turn off.